I'm Lesley Anne Knight, and welcome to this Just Talking Musicals close-up on Jason Robert Brown's song cycle musical The Last 5 Years, which, following its first appearance at Chicago's Northlight Theatre in 2001, was then cited as one of Time magazine's 10 best of that year, and went on to win Drama Desk Awards for Music and Lyrics after its off-Broadway premiere in 2002. Since then, the show has been produced throughout the US and in countries around the world, including the UK, where it completed a run at the West End's Garrick Theatre in 2021. The Last 5 Years is an emotionally powerful and intimate musical about two New Yorkers in their 20s who fall in and out of love over the course of 5 years. The musical's unconventional structure unfolds as Cathy, a struggling actress, tells her story in reverse from the end of her turbulent relationship with Jamie, a novelist, who tells his story chronologically from the first spark of their initial meeting. The two characters meet only once at their wedding in the middle of the show. In 2020, this fascinating musical returned to London to the Southwark Playhouse in a bold new actor-musician production with the actors Molly Lynch and Ollie Higginson on stage at all times and playing the piano to add a new narrative dimension to the story, accompanied by a four-piece band. Directed by Jonathan O'Boyle, it opened at the Southwark Playhouse to a veritable roar of approval from the critics, praising its innovative approach, including musically, dramatically and conceptually superior to any revival I've seen from Broadway world, to 5 stars, and you won't have seen a better production of the last 5 years. It is the definitive production. Beg, borrow or steal a ticket from what's on stage. Personally, I was all ready to do just that, and then after previews and 2 official performances, the production came to an abrupt halt due to the onset of the 2020 pandemic. So, whilst I wasn't one of those lucky ticket holders who got in there early, I was extremely fortunate to have the opportunity to catch up with Molly Lynch for a chat about the show. And I couldn't wait to ask her, apart from anything else, about how it was she came to be able to play the piano so beautifully. Just talking musicals with you. But the incredible thing about your show, the exciting thing about your show is at the Southwark Playhouse and the way it was put together the last 5 years, because there's always been this thing about the last 5 years, as far as my reading of it is that people have always said, yeah, the music's nice and it's the telling of a relationship, but how do you tell that story and make it exciting? And you had this wonderful director,
yes,
who cast the two of you, who have these skills. And I know there are a lot of actor musicians around these days, actor singer musicians around these days, and a lot of them are really highly skilled. But how many of them have got grade 8 piano?
Well, I have a very, very modest grade 8. I did my grade 8 when I think I got to grade 6 when I was in secondary school, and then I went and did a music degree. Like we were chatting earlier, I did kind of classical music for 4 years, and so my voice was my first instrument, but my second was piano. And because I was studying a bit of conducting and a bit of counterpoint and harmony and all that stuff, I was like, I should get back to my piano and keep it up and try and just get to the grade 8, because I'd gotten to the grade 6 or something. So I had this amazing piano teacher, Nicholas. He would have been teaching, his usual students would have been doing Beethoven concertos, and then I would come in and just try my one movement of the Beethoven sonata, like, oh, so hard. But he was so good. He got me my grade 7 and grade 8. So I'm definitely not in any way virtuosic or anything, because I have friends in my music degree who I watched do amazing things. But I'm really glad I did it and pushed myself to do it, because it's been so handy to have as a singer and for getting ready for auditions last minute and everything.
Oh, completely. For anybody that hasn't seen Last 5 Years or knows how it's done, do you want to talk about how it was set up?
Yeah, well, Jonathan, our director, had this amazing concept of, because the piano in the last 5 years, if you've heard it, it's very, just from Brent's piano style is just mind-blowing. It's so intricate, jazzy, and just like, really, I find his piano stuff is so iconic, and as soon as you hear it's Jason Robert Brown. And so Jonathan kind of had this idea that the music was kind of its own character, its own world, and that we would, I think initially he was thinking we would have two pianos and we would play pretty much the whole way through. And then he was like, no, he wanted to still be theatrical and stuff. So then he kind of came up with the idea that we would accompany each other. So while Ollie sang, I played, and that was amazing. So Ollie played and I was singing, and I played and Ollie was singing, except for some really clever moments Jonathan had where we like kind of really subtly interact, or he did some cool things. We had a revolving stage, so a lot of it like was symbolizing time passing, because the show does this thing where Cathy moves backwards in time, so she starts at the end of the relationship, and Jamie starts at the start of the relationship, so they kind of meet in the middle for their wedding and then go back again. So he just had this really incredible idea with the revolve, with the piano, and with the way he wanted to do it. So it was just so thrilling and cool to be a part of it in that way, because it was so fresh. And I am such a fan girl of the show, so I knew it so well, but I was so excited to, see how he wanted to do it. So it was really cool what he did.
And I think the piano is so key with Jason Robert Brown, isn't it? Because he is a pianist and arranger first and foremost by trade, isn't he? And he was known for playing his stuff when he was playing in wherever he was playing, when he was a younger composer, writer, in bars and cafes. And I think, isn't that how he met Daisy Prince, who first kind of discovered him as a really talented writer, composer, when he was playing somewhere one day, and she said, oh, I like this.
Yes, yeah, it's so cool, isn't it, that he met, like, that Daisy Prince met Jason. You just, like, those chance meetings are just like, how mad. Daisy Prince walks into a bar and Jason Robert Brown is playing piano. Like, it's just mad, isn't it? It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that song as well, yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because I remember talking to a friend of mine who is a trumpet player, Annette Brown, and she was saying one of the key things for young musicians these days is to get out there. And when you haven't got any work in particular lined up and you're thinking, oh, what am I going to do? What next? She said, just take opportunities to go and play somewhere. Sometimes you can't see the sense of going to work somewhere, like going to do a playthrough that, what's in it for me. But you go there and you don't know who you're going to meet, or you don't know who's going to hear you. You don't know who's going to walk through the door. But even if nothing like that happens, it's practice. But isn't it funny how, he wasn't expecting something to happen, and then that magic moment happens and your life changes.
So cool, isn't it? Yeah.
And I love that about last 5 years, because but it's the fact that the piano is Jonathan O'Boyle, isn't it? The director. But whose idea was it? Because suddenly you wouldn't think that the piano is central, isn't it? Because it is in the central revolve.
Yeah, totally. I think that was all his idea, to have the piano in the center and on the revolve, and it was just it's such a cool idea, and it was really, really, it brought so much more out of the piece that I, even me as like a fangirl of it, I didn't realize, all these different kind of themes that are in it, like kind of leitmotify stuff that you wouldn't really pick out, but when a character is actually playing it, you go, oh, they're playing that bit again. They played that bit when X happened, and so there was so many, like, for a music nerd like me, it was so exciting to hear all those things come through, and he's such a good idea. It was such a good idea.
Yeah, and the costumes. So it's all quite sparse, I gather, isn't it? But I hear that there's a whole thing with the costumes, that you have your wedding gear on underneath your other gear, so that there is that meeting point of what you wear for your wedding. Is that right? So how is that? Because I've seen pictures, but I haven't seen it in action.
Well, it was the costumes, actually, we went back and forth for a bit. Lee Luby, our designer, he's incredible, and because of the whole setup of it and the design of it was very abstract, and it was kind of there's elements of it that were kind of reminiscent of a kind of supposed to be like a psychiatrist office, or kind of something that was all about undertones of music therapy, were they playing to work something through. And so the costumes, he knew the costumes couldn't be naturalistic. Oh, she's on an audition. Let's put her audition dress on, or she's so. He knew that they wanted the kind of wedding outfits to be the central element. The rest of it would be kind of deconstruction of the wedding. So in the end, actually, I had a white trousers and a white top on for all of it, and then put on a white blazer for the wedding, which then eventually came back off. But I just loved it because I just presumed I'd wear a wedding dress, and I loved wearing a white suit. I thought it was really great because obviously in that show, it can be so much of the focus can be that it's a man and a woman and the difference between men and women, but it kind of put us as equals straight away. Just me not being in a dress and him being in a suit, we were both in suits. So I loved it in that regard. But the costumes were really clever. I thought Lee did such an amazing job with them, and they were so, for me anyway, like for my character, were so empowering, and loved them.
Well, there you are. It was so wonderful to be able to talk to Molly about the show. And even though they were able to return for a few more performances in late 2020, the fantastic thing was it made it back again, and this time to one of the most beautiful theatres in the West End in September 2021 for a month-long run at the Garrick Theatre. With awards to match the praise for his innovative direction, Jonathan O'Boyle quite deservedly won Best Director of a Musical and Best Musical Production at the 2021 Off West End Awards, and Broadway World chalked up yet another review which echoes precisely how I feel about this clever production, saying, "There is something unexplainable and idiosyncratically intimate about ARIA Entertainment's the last 5 years. In a journey begun at Southwark Playhouse right before the pandemic hit our stages, Jonathan O'Boyle's production of Jason Robert Brown's beloved musical has redefined the piece itself to the point where now there probably isn't a purer way to make the show." Hear, hear is what I say. So here's a huge thank you to the wonderful, eternally modest and endlessly talented human that is Molly Lynch for such a lovely chat. I'm Lesley Anne Knight. You can find plenty more behind the scenes chat on the Just Talking Musicals channel on YouTube. And if you like us, don't forget to subscribe so we can keep on bringing you the stories. See you soon. Just Talking Musicals with you.